All right, ladies and gents, welcome back to the S3 Magazine podcast. I'm Mike. That's Wooly. Tonight, I think we're going to talk about the new Z, actually, which is a car that I'm pretty stoked about. Wooly, what's up with it?
Yes, finally, some good news to talk about versus all the bad news that we always seem to talk about, and that's the Nissan Z. Like, dude, I I freaking dig it. Like, I'm stupid excited about this car. Um, I mean, look, first of all, if you guys just want the quick rundown, I did like a TikTok video and a Instagram video today on it, just like a quick one take thing. I was wearing this same hat but red. So if you want to go on there, it's like 2 minutes and done, and that's it. I guess we're just gonna talk more about it, but like, I mean, we've all seen it at this point. We've kind of made our decisions, but I do see like one of the biggest criticisms is that it's essentially the new Z built on the 370Z, which was built on the 350Z, which was built in like 2002. So we're talking about like 2 decades old. We're talking about like this thing can go to bars and drink now. And so a lot of people are like, what the hell, man? I'm not going to spend $50,000 on it. But okay, fine, I get that. But
Hold on. You're talking about the chassis being the same, right?
The chassis is essentially the same. But here's the thing, like, that doesn't bother me. First of all, new chassis kind of suck. I mean, they're so good that they suck. They've lost a lot of feeling. They've become robotic. So if a lot of back in the day, the glory year cars, like what made them so great was a lot of times flaws. That's what we feel when we drive are kind of the flaws, and that's what makes these cars endearing and memorable, and it's what differentiates a Porsche from a BMW from a Honda, right? Like they're different. But these days, everything's the same, dude. I drive a lot of new cars. Everything is the same. It's all the same shit. So first of all, I'm not necessarily a big fan of new. Second of all, the term all new is just kind of a marketing jargon for starting over. Like, it's not like, obviously, look, I am a Porsche fan. Porsche, as depicted in this photo right here, like they perfected a chassis over decades. Like they would release it and then they would look at it, as people drove it and as they raced it, and they would fix the weak links and they would continue on with the good links. And that's exactly what Nissan's doing. Nissan was really good at making sports cars at the turn of the century. That was their mission. Like, more recently their mission is, I don't know what, gone to Altimas and crossovers. But they were good at that. And so they've gone in and they've changed things. They've strengthened. I think the numbers were like 24% stiffer chassis, 10% torsional rigidity improvement. So they're going through the chassis and they're making improvements. So like, don't think that everything needs to be all new all the time. I think they've improved the steering. Obviously, it's got the 3-liter twin turbo motor, so they've gone in there and done that. That's huge. It's still got a 6-speed. The brakes, I think, carry from the 370Z, but see, they've gone in and they've tweaked like other parts of the braking system, like the brake booster is more responsive and stuff like that. Like, that's what makes a car great. Like that's what they're taking a good car and they're improving it now over 2 decades. Like I'm a huge fan of that. Also, the only way that this car exists is to carry over a lot of that chassis. This car would not happen if it was going to be an all new everything, right? It would be another Toyota BMW collaboration. Like, I want all Nissan. You know what I mean? Like, I want all Toyota. Like, I want all BMW. I think it's cool when these companies are unique and have their own feel and identity. It loses a lot of luster for me, like when the Supra is a BMW. even aside from the fact that it's an automatic, like just the fact that it's a Z4, it's a retiree's car that they put a hardtop on and some fake vents and call it a Supra. That's not it. You know, I think what Nissan's doing, I forget who it was, this CEO or the guy in charge of this, it was somebody high up at Nissan, was pleading with people. You have to understand, if you're about the numbers, this isn't the car. We didn't build this car for numbers. We built this car for emotion, for feeling. For me, that is 100% in sync with me as a buyer. I'm trying to think of what else. Just new chassis. I know we all like the sound of new, but these days I feel like we passed the sweet spot, in the last few years. I personally would rather have a new version of that old soul car. Like, I love the fact that I can go get the new Z and finance it, and it is a new car, but it's still got the old soul. I don't want this new stuff. I don't like this new stuff. I don't, these cars that you don't feel anymore, and they're all paddly, and you can't feel the tires and the steering wheel anymore. Like, that's not for me. So this Z speaks to me a hell of a lot. And I think that in this climate that we're in, where everything is completely cream puff car, or EV, Nissan is making an effort, as is Toyota with the Corolla, but Nissan's making an effort, and they're giving us an opportunity to, in 2022, go in and potentially finance a car. I said this in the 2-minute video. Normally, it's not a good idea, right, to go and long-term finance a car for 7+ years or whatever. But in this case, somebody like me would look at that option and be like, maybe. I mean, because I'm looking at cars now going, what are the last cars that I'm going to buy for the long-term foreseeable future? Because I'm not on board with the way cars are going. So I would go into a dealership and say, if you can give me low interest, stretch out the payments. I don't give a damn, because I'm buying this car for the long term. I'm buying this car to buy one of the last rear-wheel drive, manual transmission, turbocharged internal combustion, analog feeling sports cars. So that's why I'm stoked about it. The only thing I think is missing is T-tops. But there's a point where I'm an impossible customer. Like, you know what I mean? There's a point where they put T-tops in, I'm gonna be like, oh, you should have done purple. Like, it's just, so in my older age, like, as I've grown to understand the emotions of cars more, I like cars with I don't know, a connection to the elements. I like Jeeps. I like T-tops. I like big windows. I like to feel what's going on outside. When I was a kid, I didn't think about that kind of stuff. I bought cars for looks. But now when I look at like Camaros and some of these Zs, and especially the Supra, you can't freaking roll down the windows without baffling. You know what I mean? Like, these small window, like, they're short this way and they're short this way. I want more connection, So in a sense, I'd be more to go after something like a Boxster personally, which I know I'm kind of in the minority. But like T-tops, dude, Nissan, please find this on YouTube and just, make T-tops. But I'm afraid I'm going to buy the car and then T-tops are going to come out in 2 years. Damn it, I'm upside down. But I don't know, man. That's where I'm at with it. I don't, if you are worried, if you're buying into that old chassis stuff, or you're hearing that, I wouldn't let that deter you, man. I don't think that's a negative.
I agree. I don't think that's a negative at all. I mean, just like you said, tried and true. And I really feel like when the engineers built this car, they had a vision in mind. And the vision was, let's not reinvent the wheel. We already make the Z. Like, I feel like as car guys, when we found out they were doing a throwback to the old Z, we immediately thought new. And that was the wrong mindset from the get-go. And I think that was what tripped up a lot of people. They've been making the Z for a long time. This isn't some new groundbreaking thing that's happening. Literally, the last 2 generations of the Z, the 350 and the 370, would have probably been exactly what we wanted if they were target top and turbocharged vehicles. But because they weren't, everybody looks back to the R32, which was the Nissan 300ZX, as kind of the superior car over the 350Z and the 370. At least I do.
Z32. You
Yeah,
said
yeah.
32. You're talking about Z32 300ZX of the 90s, right?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Just wanted to clarify.
Yeah. What did I say? Did I screw it up?
You said R32.
Oh, it's late. Brains all over that. That's my fault. That's my fault. Yeah, you're right.
Okay.
Z32. Yeah, because in my opinion, even though I'm wrong about this, that was the last real Z before the new Z that's coming out. Even though I'm wrong about that. So yeah, it's not something new. They're not inventing the wheel. They're just taking what they had already made and they're perfecting it, which is kind of like what you were talking about with the Porsche route. Let's take something that already works and let's just make it a hell of a lot better is what they're looking to do. Um, the Supra is kind of a good example of what not to do. It's overly expensive. I mean, it's that car, I think on average with the pricing that they've come out with, just MSRP, I think is right off the rip like $10,000 to $15,000 more expensive than what the Z is projected to be, which is great for anybody who's a Nissan lover. And it sucks for everybody who's a Toyota slash BMW lover. And I've driven the Supra. That car's a little bit confused as to what it is. And it's because you got too many engineers, too many hands in the pot stirring this whole thing together to try to make something magical. And they almost got it right, but they just didn't go all the way. I like the way that Nissan is approaching this. They want a car that is not overly powerful, but is very driver friendly. They want the normal person who can get out there on a racetrack and feel comfortable to go out there and feel the car and feel confident rolling through their own gears, taking turns hard, getting late on the brakes. That's awesome, man. That stuff screams to me. I can't wait to take one of these things out on road Atlanta to see what it can do. It reminds me a lot of our Type R, to be honest, with the way that they built it. Even though that one's a little bit different because they kind of went new with a lot of stuff there too. I think that this new Z is going to kick ass, man. I think it's going to be really, really good. I think you're going to see a lot of them out there truly racing around and putting down really good lap times, and you're probably going to see a lot of kind of newbies, maybe beginners out there putting down some really good lap times and learning how to drive the proper way in this car. I think it's going to be really good.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a pure driver's car. It kind of, my gut tells me this might be the last. Like the fact that they called it a 400Z and then retracted on that and called it Nissan Z, and then they took elements from all generations of Z and put it in there and went manual transmission and internal combustion, almost makes me think that they know that it might be the end of an era. So that it's kind of like, that it's like, all right, so here's the last one. Let's celebrate what we've done. Almost as if they're like, I don't know if internal combustion is going to carry on, and we're not going to carry on the Z name without it. We'd rather just start with something else. So I don't know. That's just my gut, man. That's just because I see all the design cues. It's almost a celebration of all of the Z's in one Z. The only thing,
in my opinion, kind of the way to do it, though. That's kind of the way to do it, to be honest. If they're going to be forced into making EVs from now on, I would much rather them do it that way than to try to do the same thing that so many other manufacturers are and then just remake an electric vehicle version of a Z and force us into buying it because of a name,
it is so much more noble to do it that way than to make a Mach-E Mustang. Or even don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to hate on Toyota because I love what they're doing with the GRs. But, I mean, come on, a lot of us can admit that the Supra was kind of a half-assed miss. Like, they kind of took everything that the last Supra was and just threw it in the trash and said, whatever, here's a new Supra. But it's entirely different. And to be fair, though, the Supra is not an icon like the Z is. I might get hate for that. But to me, the Supra was okay, whatever, until the Mark IV. Then it was like, holy shit, they knocked this one out of the park. But the Z has been running since the 70s and was pretty significant. I mean, it was always challenging the European cars since the 70s. The Supra, I mean, it was kind of just a big, and then, I mean, it's kind of a big GT car in the 90s, the Mark IV, other than the fact that it turned out to be a big powerhouse. That's what, and Fast and Furious and those two things combined and made this thing a legend. But like the Z was a legend since the 70s. So I love the fact that they took the Porsche approach and they just tweaked a good thing, and they're making it better and better. The only thing that concerns me as a buyer, that would go out and buy the car is Z's. Notoriously, they make a lot of them and they depreciate and they get abused and they don't wear very well. By the time they get to their third owner, it's no longer like,
Yeah.
the perception of the car starts to turn and it becomes, kind of a piece of shit, a drift missile, whatever you want to call it. So I don't know though. I mean, again, I think as I've gotten older, I've gotten more savvy to those kind of things. But then that ends up pigeonholing you, because what are you going to do? You're going to buy a Jeep or a Toyota truck because those cars hold their value. But you know what I mean? Like, other cars are going to lose value. It's going to happen. And you shouldn't not buy what you want because everything has got to, hold value. So, and maybe it might be different. I think that everything that we know as like car enthusiasts and resale values and collectors, and we pay attention to all these different things, I think it's all about to change. And I don't know how, but I think that all this legislation and all of this EV push is going to throw a giant monkey wrench into everything. And I don't know which way it's going to go. Is it going to make the cars less valuable, or is it going to make the cars absolutely more valuable? I was reading an article, I think it was Wall Street Journal, but it's a year-old article, but they were saying that, like, I think 1% of cars now are manual transmission that are sold. It's that bad. It is the lowest number that it can be. But they're saying that late model manual transmission cars are actually fetching a lot more money. People are searching these things out. They want them. It's just a minority of people that want them. So I don't know. As we move, assuming that we move into the next era of little Demolition Man robot cars, I don't know what that's going to do. Is that going to drive up the price of a Z and make a Nissan Z retain value forever because it's the last of? If you want it, this is your chance to get it. Or is the fact that nobody knows how to drive a stick going to make these cars worthless? I wonder about that with my 911. I've got an old 79 911. And obviously, the values of those kind of cars have always just gone up and up. But now I'm like, is there value to somebody that doesn't see value? You know what I mean? The new generations, are they going to see value in something like that? It's not why I own the car. I don't really give a damn. But it sure would be. I'd rather it be valuable than not valuable. You know what I mean? So, yeah, I don't know. I just think we're moving into weird times. You can try and make your predictions, but at the end of the day, you got to buy what your heart wants.
Yeah, I agree with that. And we always say this, but vote with your wallet. Buy what you want to support, and hopefully it'll continue going. We are kind of running into a really, really weird time period right now with this crunch that we're coming up against, where automatics are taking over, manuals are dying, and then of course, internal combustion engines seem to have very limited run on them right now. As to what's going to happen in the future, we don't know. We kind of have an idea, and it makes these things valuable. I say screw NFTs, screw cryptocurrency. You want a good investment? Go get yourself a fun, cool car that you can drive on the weekends, keep in the garage on the weekdays, take care of. And as long as there are gearheads out there in the world, that thing's going to have some value to it, and you're going to have fun driving it in the process of its value going up, because it seems like you have a limited time to get this stuff. And let's face it, man, if we learned anything during the pandemic, the main thing that drives up price is scarcity. How much does somebody want it, and how hard is it to get? Well, this stuff's getting difficult. I've got 3 pretty fun cars that I like to drive pretty often right now. And I'm not going to lie, with the economy tightening up and all, one of my first thoughts is, man, Mike, you should really get one of these cars. It's the fiscally responsible thing to do. Okay, but it might also be my last chance to ever own vehicles like these. And let's not forget about the fact that, like, just because I can sell it for a lot of money right now because the used car market is insane, doesn't mean that I can replace it. I mean, you look at the price of something like for example, your 911. You bought that car for a steal of a deal back, what, 7, 8 years ago? It's
Yeah,
been
right.
There's no way you could replace that car now just based on how much it's gone up in value. Like, yeah, you could absolutely go off and sell it, but how hard would it be to replace that thing? And that's kind of where I am right now. I think that a lot of people see this kind of stuff and they are seeing the same way that we see it, because I do think that these are good investments and they're fun investments. Everything else out there, stocks, NFTs, cryptos, you just kind of watch on a computer screen and did it go up today? I don't know. At least with these things, you can go, man, I want to go fire up my investment and take it to the track and go gap one of my friends really quick and have some fun with it and still watch the value go up. And it also kind of makes me a badass because I'm doing something that a lot of the world literally can't do. I
Yeah.
mean, driving manual transmission is a skill that a lot of people just flat out cannot and will not learn how to do. And that separates you from the pack. Congratulations. Good job on that, sir. Um, but yeah, man, that's just kind of the way that I see it. I think the new Z is going to be a good investment. It's weird because when you say the Z's depreciate in value, I think it depends on which one you're talking about. The 32s, the 300Zs, going back to those, they didn't depreciate all that much. They held their values pretty well, not as much as the Mark IV Supras, mostly because of Fast and the Furious. But the 32s held their value pretty well because it was what we wanted. It was a really sleek design. You had the Lamborghini lights in the front. It was super low to the ground. It was really wide. It was a long, sleek vehicle. It had the twin turbos V6. It had targa tops. I mean, it was everything that we wanted. The 350Z and the 370Z, I always saw as a little bit of a failure. I saw that as the same way I see the Supra. It was a little bit of a half-assed attempt. It's kind of like the FRS when it came out. It's like, okay, I mean, you made a car that looks like what I want, but it's not the right power plant. It's not what I want. You guys went 8/10 of the way
Mhm.
and gave up and said, they'll probably buy this. And you're right. A lot of people did buy them and then realized it was kind of a bad purchase and sold them, and then sold them again, and then sold them again. And it kind of went the way of the DSM, where you end up just having a bunch of these cars that are half built, half broken. And you're right. I don't know what it is about Nissan vehicles, but for some reason their interiors go to crap and their paints aren't very good. I really hope they fix that with this new Z, because I would really hate to drop that kind of coin on this thing and all of a sudden you've got, like 1990s Volkswagen interior that smells like crayons. That's just going to piss me off. I really
Yeah.
hope that happens.
Well, I think the interior, everything, like car manufacturers sell cars based on the screens these days. I don't give a damn about a screen. I would buy a new Z with manual windows if I could buy it. Like that, I could not give a shit less about how big the screen is or how many boops and beeps and little haptics or what. I don't like digital gauges. I like freaking real gauges. You know what I mean? So having said that, the new Z interior looks radical. They're doing some cool colors. I'm sure you guys have seen the blues and stuff like that. Um, they did go to digital gauges. I don't care. I mean, I'm not going to fight it, but it's also going to be a source of a headache down the road. It's going to go out. I mean, like, look, guys, cars are not computers. Cars are they're in the elements. They're in the freezing. They're in the hot. They vibrate. I don't want that stuff. Like, I love the fact that my Jeep is completely analog. And my Jeep, guys, it's a 2016, literally has roll-up windows though. And I was like, well, I don't want automatic windows. I don't want doors on this thing, like I just don't care. But so if you take the infotainment out, the interior is sick though. They have redesigned it. It's a little bit less, can you guys see me? It's a little bit less swoopy like this and more laid out, kind of like a cockpit again, which I think is totally awesome. the way that they're laying this out, like apparently, so the official prices have come out, but nothing is official because the world is spiraling down the toilet. And with inflation, this thing's supposed to come summer of 2022. By the time it gets here, God knows how much it'll be. But right now they're saying 39, they're sneaking it in at just 39 before any dealer fees or anything like that, which is absolutely kick ass. The only problem with that is the next level up. I don't quote me on this, but you can kind of quote me on this. I think the next level up is like the performance model or something, and it's like 10,000 more. So now you have 50 grand, and you get an LSD, which to me is pretty crucial. I would really like to finance an LSD and get it right off the rip and not lie to myself and say, oh, I'll just do it in the afternoon, because I'm not going to go into that, immediately. So I want the LSD. And then it also comes with larger wheels, don't care, because that I will do in the aftermarket. It comes with little spoilers, I think, don't care, because I'm going to accentuate that in the aftermarket. It comes with the Alcantara or faux suede or leather or whatever, fine, as long as it doesn't wear out, but I don't care. It comes with bigger, whatever. I think it comes with bigger stereos and screens, don't give a shit. So I think it does come with bigger brakes though. But anyway, I kind of wish that there was just a raw enthusiast model that was like, okay, so we're going to give you nothing but like the big brakes and the LSD, and like let you do that. Would be cool. But I guess beggars can't be choosers. At the end of the day, if you're a driver, the one you're probably going to want is the $50,000 one. That's what we thought it was going to be. I mean, that's no surprise. So yeah, I mean, that's just a little bit of whatever options and statistics or whatever. But I don't know, man. Regardless, it's we got to really hold on tight to the good news these days. And like, yo, if you're listening this far in, you're obviously into this stuff and you're into cars. Like, it's like Mike said a little while ago. You said it probably better than I'm about to say it, but like, you've got to use your purchase to cast votes on what you want. You know what I mean? Like, when we were talking about buy with your heart, we need more of that. We need more people to be like, I don't care if I can only fit like one backpack in the back of this thing. Like, I'll pack light. I got to have this. This is freaking awesome. You know what I mean? Like, sensibility is freaking killing the beauty in this world. It's turning it's look at the road. I guess it's geographical, but where we live around the metro Atlanta area, everything is a gray, black, white, silver crossover. It's freaking Nazi Germany, dude. It's like, it's awful. Like, there is no color in the world anymore. Please be the color in the world and go buy this stuff. And the more of you that do and scream it from the mountaintops how awesome it is, maybe we'll get more of this stuff. So whether it's the Corolla, the GR Corolla, or the Z, like, in the midst of everything we love automotive wise tanking, there's a couple little shining stars here that could grow if we just man up and freaking buy it. Also, get off the damn internet. Like, look, get off the Z Facebook page. I'm on it. Get off of it. Like, because they're going to kill this car with stupid ass renditions before it ever. I hate those things because, I mean, like, you know what I mean? All these little renditions and Photoshops and all these things that people do. It takes the jam out of your donut. I want the jam in my donut, and I want to be able to get the car and have some excitement for modifying it and not have it totally saturated before I can even get it. I just hope to God that Nissan actually does get these cars to dealerships, because then we get back into the whole circular argument that we've already talked about, that if they start playing dealership games, they can go take a piss. Like, they're going to kill this car before it ever has a chance. And it won't be that we didn't want the car. It's just that we didn't want to get jerked around at a dealership and they're going to ruin it before it has legs.
Yeah. I mean, that's the part that remains to be seen. We'll see how greedy the dealership's going to be. How hard up for money are they going to be? The fact is, again, you vote with your wallet. If it's a car that you want, you got to wait until it makes financial sense for you. Just like anything else out there, price is going to do this. as long as everybody kind of gets on the same page and says, damn it, you know what? We are not paying over $55,000 for this thing. Then guess what? The dealer can't possibly charge that much because the market will not bear it. So have to everybody band together so we can get these freaking cars for an affordable price. Don't go do the F thing and
what is it? It's like Sparta or something. We're like, hold, like, do not, dude.
Yeah.
So
whenever dealerships do that with that crazy markup and stuff, it's not like Nissan is getting more money. That's just that particular dealership in your hometown getting more profit is all that is.
That's them going, there's some YouTube asshole that's going to come in here and we can bend him over because
that's why they do it. That's honestly one of the reasons why they do it, because they know that someone will come in there and try to show off with a bag full of cash and a camera behind them to go pay an absurd amount of money for this thing just so I can go, oh man, you know how much I paid for that? Come on, man. Like, we want these things on the road. I miss the days of when I was growing up in the early and mid 2000s, and like you just see modified cars running around all over the place. There's a lot of different factors that have contributed to that not happening anymore. But the fact is, it's not happening anymore. And life kind of sucks a little bit more, in my opinion, because of that. I think that the aftermarket has kind of like outpriced itself in a bunch of different ways. I was talking to one of my buddies about this earlier today, about how much more expensive it is to get into the vehicle and then modify the vehicle nowadays. And that's the thing. If you can't get these guys and girls who want to modify cars and get into racing and stuff, if you can't get them at a young age, you're never going to get them. Then they're just going to grow up to be an adult that respects cars, but doesn't really have any cool ones and no cool stories. I mean, the fact is, if I hadn't had that DSM and gone through all of the horrible and amazing and fun experiences that thing put me through, I wouldn't own this company with you. I wouldn't have had all the awesome cars that I've had in the past and all of them that I have right now. None of that would have happened. It all happened because I got into it young and I was able to go through the rigors of learning and making mistakes and figuring it out. And there was a buffer zone because it wasn't stupid expensive. Well, it's been stupid expensive for a while now. And you're starting to see guys like me kind of aging out. We're getting older. And who is here to pick up the mantle behind me? I'm not seeing a whole lot of guys younger than me who are super serious about this because they can't freaking afford it.
The entry point to play in the 90s was much, much less. In 99, when the SI came out, literally, like, all my buddies were buying that car, man. Like, a lot of them. And you could get them in like 99 for like 17 grand.
Yeah.
And life was a lot simpler. I mean, you didn't have all these stupid subscriptions and cell phone subscriptions and all these different things. And now we've gotten to a point, like, please keep your eyes open, people. The government has legislated complications into cars that have driven up the price of cars. It's not Honda that wanted to drive up the price of their SI. It's everybody going, well, hold on, you got to add this and you got to add this. And then we got to put the backup camera in here and the backup camera's in here. We're going to put the sensors in here. And it's just made everything stupid expensive. And so it's taken the entry point out. Like, it used to be, even in the 90s, a Z was pretty stupid expensive. A 3000 GT was pretty stupid. Those mid-level cars are probably cheaper today, dollar for dollar, adjusted for inflation and everything. But the thing is, the entry point for things like SIs and Eclipses and Integras and those kind of cars were super soulful and super affordable and super fun to modify. You could pop the hood and put radical looking parts on them, and it was freaking magical, dude. And that's gone. On top of that, now we have a generation, probably two generations, that are so far removed from car culture as it was back in like the 80s and 90s that they've never been in a cool car. There is a significant amount, a very, very significant amount of teenage dudes who have never been in anything but dad's truck and mom's Tahoe or minivan. They don't have an effing clue of what we're talking about. And I'm starting to realize that more and more. See, I'm real bad about thinking everybody's into what I'm into. Yeah, everybody can drive stick, right? How the hell could you not? It's not freaking true. Like, they can't. So to try and win over people that have absolutely no perspective of what a fun car is very difficult. They're more into their cell phone because they have experience with a cell phone. It's really freaking lame, but they don't know that. We know that, but they don't, it's not on their radar. So yes, there's the primary battle of us as enthusiasts need to support these cars, but then there's like this secondary battle going on of like, okay, so how does Toyota and Nissan reach people that have no freaking clue what these cars even are, and they're failing on that point. This is another topic for another day, but digital marketing is a whole new obstacle. Like, how do you reach people that don't care to be reached? It's totally, it's a different ball game now. I do not see, look at the car ads that you see. I'm just thinking off the top of my head. Everything you see is some dumb asshole that couldn't pay attention and almost rear-ended a taco truck, but the car hit the brakes for him. Or it's some hipster nerd like thinking he's going off road in his Subaru. Or it's a guy in a Silverado tapping "We Will Rock You," not holding the steering wheel, thinking he's cool. That's not cool, bro. Like, you're driving a freaking vehicle and you're laughing at your wife because you don't have to hold it. What are we marketing? Like, how are we selling cars? We are basically saying, hey, you can be an idiot. Take no responsibility while you drive. It's completely retarded. What we need to see, I can't even say retarded anymore, but I did. What we need to see is some dudes ripping a GR Corolla around. Or a Nissan they are trying with that girl that was on the commercials. I think she's famous, but I don't know who she is. And she was driving different like Z's from the decades, and one had T-tops, and I got all excited, and then I realized it was like a Z31. But they need to market this stuff. Like, they need to make the masses know, or at least from a car person's perspective, they need to make the masses know, like, you do need this in your life. Like, you know what I mean? Like, this is enjoyment. This is freedom. This is an escape. This is a connection. This is a feeling. You're buying a feeling here. You're not just buying something you can plug your phone into, So they're not, in order to complete this effort, they need to market it. They need to make these people who are unaware aware.
Yeah. And going back a little bit, we were talking about the different not models, but the different price points of the Z that are coming out. I would like to see Nissan do a better job than everybody else has in the past 10 years of making that base model obtainable and exactly what we want for modifying.
Yeah.
Like, because just because it doesn't have an LSD, that's fine, man. That's where a Cusco or an OS Geiken or somebody like that is going to come in and make their bones and just say, dude, you don't need to spend that extra $10,000. I got you, a $1,500 LSD right here. Go do this. It'll be even better than what's from the factory. Mm-hmm. Boom, boom, boom. That's how it was when I was growing up. You never really went out and you didn't really go out and get the Type R. You got right. Your kind of dumbed down version, and you made it your own, and you made it better using the parts that you wanted. I feel like the cars have gotten so good lately, like Honda, for example. The Civic Type R is so much better than the SI. It's literally not even the same car. I hope it's not like that with the Z. I hope that they're pretty comparable and that we can use the aftermarket to make one better than the other, because I think that's the type of thing that keeps the aftermarket industry rolling in the right direction.
Yeah.
Type R is so good. All it needs is an intake and exhaust and some lowering springs, and you got a freaking race car on your hands. Like I love that car, but I can't do anything else to it. It's modded out, and all it has is simple bolt-ons. I like taking cars too far. I like taking them past the limit of what's comfortable in terms of modifying. And that's the only car that I can't really do that with. I hope the Z doesn't do that.
I mean, you're right. I was complaining about the LSD because it is not a fun mod. It's a serious, we're getting into this car, like the transmission mod. But even at the $39,000 price point, yeah, you're getting the 400 horsepower twin turbo engine. Like, they're giving it to you. So there is an argument for that. And the other cool thing about being the older chassis is that it's already out. Like, I think coilovers swap, brakes obviously swap. I mentioned that. Like, so we're going to be able to get this car, and right out the gate, there's aftermarket. There's a ton of aftermarket. It's already established. It's already been tested. It's already been time attacked. It's already been put, to use. So yeah, I mean, if you can talk yourself out of the factory LSD and talk yourself into doing it in the aftermarket, I guess, then yes, you can buy a $39,000, 400 horsepower twin turbo with a hell of a lot of aftermarket opportunity. Yeah, for 39 grand, you can probably also buy a Mustang GT. I mean, can you even anymore? I don't know. The prices are so stupid. But a Mustang GT, it's going to hit its wall, unless you're supercharging it, which would cost what? 7-8 grand minimum to actually get it done and tuned.
Just for the kit. I mean, just the kit that I put on my Mustang alone was I think $7,500. And then you need the tuning software. Like, after everything was said and done, if I would have had to have paid for everything, I mean, it would have been easily over $10,000 to do it the right way. But the Mustang's a good example. I chose to go full base model with that car. I went with the most base of GTs that you can do. Doesn't have leather seats, fine. I put Corbos in it. Doesn't have a supercharger, fine. I threw a Vortec on it. That's what I want to do. I want to make the car mine. And now that car is super badass and everybody loves it. But hiding underneath everything that I did, it's just a base model GT.
Yeah. So for 39 grand, you can get a twin turbo 400 horsepower car. With the turbo, you'll be able to go, and just crank it up, basically. So I think there's going to be a hell of a lot of aftermarket. I don't know. To close it out, this is a good thing. This is one of the few good things. Like, let's celebrate this good thing. Let's call it, what it is, and call it like we see it. This is cool. Don't let the fact that, or do, but whatever. I'm not going to let the fact that it's got, the last generation chassis but updated, that's not bothering me at all. I think that's actually exactly what I want. I don't want the new chassis with the little beeps and all the stupid things that these cars come with. That's why I bought the Fiesta ST, because I was like, well, this here is like the rowdiest little 90s hatchback, but it's new in 2014. I'll take it. You know what I mean? Like, it's that's what I like. I don't know, that's it. I don't know how to close this out. I'm going to say this is I'm excited for this car.
The new Z is a good investment. It's a good buy. The price makes sense. It's a callback to a better but long forgotten era. It's a beautiful car, at least on the side and the back end. I think the front's going to need a nice little splitter or something up there to make it look complete. But it's a good looking car. The price makes sense. It makes a ton of power. It's rear wheel drive. It's going to be a little drift missile. Buy it. It's a good investment. It's finally the Z that everybody wants, and they're not going to make it for long. And you're not going to be able to buy vehicles like this ever again, in 10 or so years from now. I think it's a good investment. Go buy it. Don't get price gouged so that I can afford to get one for myself.
Yes, please. Hold the line.
Hold the line.
All right. See you guys. Thanks for listening.
Take care.